Hello world, this is Stefan of Lendrigan Games. Before I get into the devlog proper, I want to correct a couple factually false statements that I made in the previous update. One of them is that I had gotten the flu, which I thought was part of the delay, when actually in the update before that I had made an elongated joke about having gotten the flu. But in the heat of the moment of remembering all the frustrations that were keeping me back, because several bad things happened, every bad thing happened. The second false statement that I made was that I thought I had the same gross number of Gab followers as I do Minds followers. And I had said I had 25 Gab followers, 15 of whom are bots. No, I actually have 40 Gab followers, 20 of whom are bots. Alright, as for progress since last time, look at it, ain't it beautiful? I finally have a feature complete placeholder. Yeah, I finally have a sprite sheet that I can now just hand to my artist and say, convert this into your art style. Yeah, because this is a placeholder. I've decided to release the entire sprite sheet. If any of you out there want to try your hand at game animation, feel free to just grab the sprite sheet and animate it. I just want to help everyone else start from not zero. Now, I said before that my tentative plans were moving on to the animating the night and then maybe composing a song. I am not near a point yet where I could do a song, because part of the reason that I'd be putting the song out is to help promote the game, and there is a certain time for that. Really, at this point, after I draw and animate the night, I'm going to try and regain the progress I've made thus far in the Unity engine and do it all over again on the Godot engine. Now, this is a decision that I had made while thinking up the game. I had always been thinking of eventually putting it on Godot, and for reasons besides the fact that I'm a total cheapskate. Namely, the game is, well, despite how unambitious I try to make this game idea, it's going to have specific needs. And between Godot and Unity, Godot is an open source engine, and I'm more willing to wager that I can more easily strong arm an open source engine into doing what I need it to do. On a less substantial note, I hope I haven't tired out everyone by apparently switching from talking about general gaming topics to just reviewing games. My next ramble will be a good general topic. But this one, it was just too good to pass out. On a less substantial note, I hope I haven't tired out everyone by apparently switching from talking about general gaming topics to just reviewing games. My next ramble will be a good general topic. But this one, it was just too good to pass out. Now, before I start it up, here's just a bit of a heads up that alongside being a grammar Nazi, I'm also a pedant. Throughout this I am what I am not. I will never say kung fu, and will instead say wushu. For those of you completely unfamiliar with Mandarin Chinese, Kung Fu means skill mastery, and Wushu is the skill that is referenced in said movies. With that out of the way, here's how much Jade Empire has shaped my design philosophies. Jade Empire is a so-called action role-playing game that revolves around Wushu. I've heard only good things about it, so writing this has excited me with the notion that I'm hurting someone in the dreams. Let's start with the action. When you create a character, you choose which one of 4 styles of Wushu he knows. The first one is called Be Wolverine. This is the Wing Chun of Jade Empire styles, in that in the world of Jade Empire, growing knives out of your knuckles is taught to women for basic self-defense. The second style is Irish step dancing. This style was invented by the Jade Empire Football Club because they needed a style of combat that inhibits the use of hands. The third style is Animu Nonsense, which is a 52-hit combo that's really a 3-hit combo where the third hit is 50 punches with negligible effect. The fourth, and most devastating style, is called Get Stunlocked by Everyone Else. It hits like a runaway freight train whose engine is a hand crank, and I'd compare it to molasses in January, except that if you tried to punch that via this style, it would stunlock you in pre-retaliation. Later in the game, your character can run across scrolls with teachings for a couple different styles. My guy learned Invincible Golfer Arnold Palmer's style, wherein he awkwardly swings his arms around and cries because he'll never match up to Jean Renault's ability to wield a golf club. Of course, there are more categories of styles out there to learn. There are, for example, weapon styles that let you do 3-hit combos with weapons. Unfortunately, your character can't hit ghosts with them. Everyone else on his team can stab ghosts, but apparently one of the special abilities of the Spirit Monk is to be unable to stab spirits while everybody else does. There are also debilitative styles, whose afflictions last just long enough to wear off by the time you get through the cutscene that plays while switching styles. Also available is a transformation style, which allows you to repeat a 3-hit combo as a giant toad. I'm giving this one a free pass because toads are my spirit animal. Specifically, the Colorado River toad. Sometime later, doing a 3-hit combo as a horse becomes available. I'll discuss later my problem with that one. Finally, we have elemental styles, which fill the role for ranged attacks. These differ from the rest of the styles fundamentally because they have only semi-automatic fire instead of 3-round bursts. I'm remembering them that way at any rate. I never used those styles, so I can't be bothered to cross-examine these memories. Moving on, now that I've established that Jade Empire truly understands the essence of martial arts styles, here's how they play out in combat. They play out like the most boring game of Tekken you can ever have the misfortune of playing. I mentioned 3-hit combos earlier, and I'll mention them again now. 3-hit combos. Every martial arts style is a 3-hit combo, repeated ad infinitum. Pressing the attack button repeatedly always results in the same 3-hit combo. Granted, every now and then the enemy is blocking, so you have to press the guard break button before resuming your 3-hit combo. Adding back to the monotony, though, you'll often end up sticking to one style during fights, because, well, exactly like how it plays out in mixed martial arts fights and in wushu films, switching styles takes about 5 to 10 seconds while your character stands there and does nothing else. I don't remember exactly how long the transition is, but I do remember being casually shoved out of the game every time and feeling myself age while my character reboots in the middle of a fight. So staying with one style instinctively became the preferred method for me. Overall, combat is forgettably repetitive by the third fight, but is oddly redeemed by how forgettable it is. That way it becomes out of sight, out of mind, instead of wearing on you through sheer repetition. Granted, not all of the fights are boring. Some of them are frustrating. In other words, some of them are damage sponges that only hit harder than other opponents instead of shake up the formula. Popularly, they are known as boss fights. I'd add something more about them if BioWare did, so I'm done with that. With the combat's being all fluff and no impact, how's the role-playing? Simply put, were it any more basic, Obsidian would be using it to code a much more interesting game. Each level, your character can put one set of upgrade points into health, magic, and bullet time, and he gets another set for upgrading styles. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that you can slow down the action if you want. It doesn't change anything practically, it's just something else to do with the stamina bar when swinging weapons isn't eating it up. As for upgrading styles, it's just incremental upgrades for numbers, such as how much damage it does or how little energy it uses up. The only time that it catches your attention is when you find a nifty new style, and you get to choose which slot you're replacing, and by transition, how many level upgrades you're now throwing into the trash. Back to the toad and horse transformations, for example, by the time I got the horse transformation, I had fully upgraded the toad and had no need for another transformation style. Overall, character growth is like the combat, noteworthy only when it's frustrating. How is the role-playing, I hear you ask, as you pretend to not already know the answer. As far as playing a role in an Eastern setting that runs on 5 elements instead of 4, Jade Empire really delves into the intricacies of Taoism and Zen Buddhism by replacing the words good and evil with the phrases open palm and closed fist, respectively. Never mind that good and evil don't even function congruently in any form of Buddhism as compared to how they do in Christianity. Even the labels themselves are the concoction of an annoying tourist. Open palm and closed fist aren't a Chinese binary for morality. They're the Russian binary for correcting your entire family. For that rant, you're welcome, because there's nothing new or interesting in the morality choices. Either your character gets to choose to be a poor man's the people's eternally exalted Mao Zedong and help everybody, or he gets to be a poor man's the people's forever accursed Qin Shi Huang and hurt everybody. When morality is unambiguous, human instinct reflexively takes the moral high ground. Because of that, evil options need a much bigger and tastier carrot in order to even be an option. Never mind a viable one. The only way that the evil choices can appeal in Jade Empire is if you consciously choose to roleplay a sadist or sociopath. If you're going to invest more care into role-playing than BioWare did, though, just play Morrowind and specialize in boxing. Going back to the carrot, though, the options in Jade Empire carry insultingly little consequence. Help the old lady get her tea house back and get some rubles, or help the evil lawyer keep it for some more rubles. Help the ghosts find peace and get a gem that you'll be selling in a few minutes. Or be an instrument of their revenge and get a different gem that you'll be selling in a few minutes. The only noticeable consequence that I've seen is that Dawnstar will get irked at your character if you take evil choices, but I switched out Deadlina Do-Right for different reasons. On a scale of fully fleshed out to bare bones, the companion system follows the trend of being a skeleton stripper. Across the game, your character gathers a cabal of 9 cliches and can take one of them with him whenever he leaves camp. Dawnstar is the pure of heart cliche that offers either magic regeneration or an extra pair of hands in a fight. I'm allergic to scruples in general, so she rubbed me the wrong way as soon as she started refusing to shut her I'm so pious mouth. Next is Tragic Backstory. I forget his actual name. He offers either bullet time regeneration or extra hands in a fight. I had forgotten to mention this earlier, but the reason that these regenerations matter is because the only way to recover any lost energies is by walking over appropriately colored orbs that pop randomly out of thin air whenever your character 3-hit combos someone to death. Apparently this was originally supposed to be an arcade game, but BioWare couldn't be bothered to make the combat fast, frenetic, or fluid. Moving back on track, Wildflower is an angel-possessed girl. I pick her every time, partially because the angel heals your character, and partially because this dual character is the only one with a personality. Unlike the humans, the angel has a legitimate reason for being stoic, and having that counterpart allows the little girl to be not completely stoic, and instead be mostly a little girl. She doesn't react energetically to anything either, but that at least gets addressed, and the contrivances at least seem plausible at first glance. Noble Ninja, however, is another character that rubbed me the wrong way immediately. As my guy is walking along Plot Avenue, she self-righteously stops and fights him, and at the end of it stoically says, "I'll let you go this time," from inside his giant toad stomach. She reeks of plot contrivance, and I'm pretty certain that if my guy brought her along, the game's plot would become about her. Berserker with a heart of gold means well, even if he gets drunk sometimes. Don't worry, though. He drinks only alcohol that's made from the plot. Speaking of drinking, however, one of the followers lets your character perform drunken boxing. He's the former champion cliché, and his method of unlocking your character's ability to perform drunken boxing is to haphazardly toss bottles of wine across the field. After picking up a bottle and chucking it, your character performs drunken boxing flawlessly for about 10 seconds before completely metabolizing all of the alcohol. This is oddly true to life, since when I shotgun an entire fifth of Wild Irish Rose, the incoming buzz lasts only 15 seconds for me as well. Additionally, I don't know how they did it, but BioWare managed to incorporate the entirety of the Taoist Xyle of Ziquan. All 8 stances derived from the 8 Immortals they managed to fit into this. They expressed all of it within a single 3-hit combo. It's amazing. It's impressive. It's all so beautiful. I hate BioWare. I hate them for this. I hate the former champion. I hate everybody who thinks drunken boxing was implemented well. As for anyone who asks, what happened to Because video game? My response is that this video game adaptation of drunken boxing is an absolute travesty. The Taoist version of drunken boxing is famous for having 8 stances, each with their own methods of attack and defense, and stripping it all down into a single 3-hit combo is flat out an insult. If any of you out there know of a mod wherein the player character strangles the wine dispenser to death, I would much appreciate getting a hold of that. If there's no such mod, I'd also settle for a mod wherein the player character punches him so hard that he gets deleted from the game files. As well, the meta behind all of it is underwhelming too. The drunken 3-hit combo is purported to be the most powerful form of wushu, but in order to acquire that, you have to give up both the companion slot and the ability to switch styles. Sure, it doesn't technically remove all of the other styles, but if you choose to go solo for the sake of turning the spirit monk into a wino, and then decide to not make him black out, you're just that much more of an idiot. Anyway, there are a couple of followers that can't join into combat. One of them is the Stressed Accountant. He's the walking vending and trading machine who introduces himself by talking some word salad about contrived plot nonsense and the Great Wheel, a phrase which happens to be a hapax legomenon, never referenced again, not even by him. He would have been much more coherent were he just a traveling merchant, especially since he is wherever he is for reasons that just don't matter. The other non-combat cliche is the Philistine-disdaining artiste. He offers, I think he sells bonuses for the Galaga-style minigame. I don't care. The minigame is pointless, and he's high on his own supposed quirkiness. After counting out all of the followers, I realized that I was missing one and had to look up who he is. He's the noble-spirited farmhand. That cliche is already filled by the spirit monk, and this farmhand is as eye-rollingly stoic as is everybody else, leaving him with no discernible personality. You meet him during the same plot point as the artiste, which is another layer of why I forgot his entire existence. Let's talk about plot, though. The amount that Jade Empire's plot takes itself seriously is the direct inverse of how much original creative thought went into it. Those of you with pattern recognition can by now have guessed that the plot treats itself with more gravity than does the plot of Crime and Punishment, launching, via seesaw effect, how much it has merited the self-congratulation all the way back into the Western Hemisphere. If I had heard from reviewers the occasional less-than-good thing about the plot in Jade Empire, I'd write this rundown of the same narrative with the occasional compliment. As it stands, however, I had to put on pants today. so I'm in dire need of venting. The story starts with the player character, referred from here on as Glue Eater Abernathy, engaging in a fighting tutorial at the dojo in which he grew up. After that, the spoiled rich kid declares his undying love to Dawnstar, of all people. I guess he's just into self-righteousness or something. Bandits then attack the town, thus continuing the tutorial. The segment climaxes in a boss fight against a truly terrifying dark arts master with his varicose veins and lobster boy hands. Abernathy's mentor then shows that he is so awesome Zors and punches a boat in half. Afterwards, the tutorial tells Abernathy that the mentor is actually the top general in Jade Empire before booting him down a secret cave, wherein he learns that he himself is a spirit monk. A title given purely so that the voice actors don't have to refer to Abernathy as Glue Eater. How does being a spirit monk affect gameplay? Why, obviously, it doesn't. Being the Chosen One is a plot contrivance, not a gameplay mechanic, you knave. Now shut up and stop bringing up Planescape Torment, Crackdown, Breath of Fire, Deus Ex Fable, God of War, and Ultima. Anyway, Abernathy takes a plot contrivance back up to the surface and learns that spoiled rich kid has captured Dawnstar. I feel like I should be angry at him for that, but it's a small fishing village and basic standards really are too much to ask from the dating pool. Along the way, Abernathy meets tragic backstory and agrees to help him atone for his nebulously dark past. A dozen homicides later, they catch up to spoiled rich kid, who repeats his undying love, again, it's a small fishing village, and fights Abernathy to his own demise. Now that the tutorial is officially over, it's time for more bandits and varicose lobsters to burn down the fishing village and capture General Mentor. Abernathy and his social barnacles steal an airplane and crash land near the second hub town. There, Tragic Backstory's friend tells Abernathy that he has a nebulous quality to his wushu, which exists only for the sake of firing Chekhov's gun later. Of course, said quality doesn't affect gameplay at all, and, okay, spoiler alert, Chekhov's gun gets fired later. Anyway, after the later act fighting, it's easy to explain why the gun itself was completely unnecessary. On a further note, this subtle, nebulous quality apparently also affects how he shapeshifts into giant toads and flaming horses. I'm haranguing on this because this so-called great plot indulges in a lot of tell-don't show, going against the fundamental idea of an action role-playing game. Meanwhile, in town, bandits are raiding, there's a drought because the dam is locked, and the teddy bear picnic in the nearby woods has gotten a little overly carnivorous. On the way to the dam, Abernathy meets Noble Ninja, who fights him and then nobly lets him go this time, as though he didn't just completely julienne her with his fully mastered sword. At the dam, he can technically choose to open or close the dam, but I couldn't care enough to hate the village. At least the angel-possessed girl joins his party, and it's nice to have by his side someone with a definable reason to be stoic. Over at the teddy bear picnic, Abernathy requires the gold-hearted berserker and has to travel to a spirit realm and negotiate with a nature spirit. In that realm, he meets the stressed-out accountant and his impassioned gobbledygook of an inconsequential backstory. I have to admit that I gave this character props for successfully expressing an emotion untainted by stoicism. Abernathy then joins with the nature spirit because why bother, and is sent to fight the true evil spirit. Over at that lair, Abernathy finds the snake oil salesman who puts him into a quick tutorial to teach him just how painfully underwhelming is drunken boxing in the world of Jade Empire. Abernathy restores the teddy bear picnic to sunshine and lollipops and acquires permission to go to Bandit Island. There he meets the artiste and an even less noteworthy follower, kills another varicose lobster, and acquires the artiste's pride and joy, an airplane with plot armor. I think by this time General Mentor has been described to Abernathy as a 4D chess master able to make all plot contrivances go his way. Anyway, they fly to the city, and Noble Ninja reveals herself to be a high-ranking official. Were the revelation any more shocking, I might have been in danger of caring. The group then realizes that in order to get to the palace, they have to join the Varicose Lobsters. Abernathy does that, and then he kills them all. At the palace, Chekhov's gun gets fired, and General Mentor dies or betrays Abernathy, causing Abernathy to have a plot-specific near-death experience. This is a special moment for me because it encapsulates how loosely the term role-playing game is applied to Jade Empire. A lot of people experience the twist and think, wow, I honestly did not see that coming. The problem is that the turn of events exists purely for that reaction. Let's say that you do see it coming. Can you make it not happen? Back of the hallucinogenic haze, Abernathy treks across the corridor and gets more plot spouted at him. He then wakes up and has to defend the Spirit Temple with all of his acquaintances. The Empire's army attacks, and Abernathy gets into a fight with the Emperor's personal bodyguard. After spending a half hour on wailing away at him, I lose the fight, turn the game off, and never go back. Very rarely have I encountered a game so vigorously mediocre. Plenty of games are mediocre due to lack of effort, but not before this had I played a game that's forgettable by design. Let's get one thing straight about mediocrity, though. It sells. It sells well. Plenty of people love inoffensive games, and Jade Empire tackles no issues and pushes no boundaries. Apparently this was even a passion project. Yeah, they passionately reskinned Knights of the Old Republic, and in admiration of their own passionate achievement, forgot to put in most of the gameplay elements and mechanics. Meanwhile, reviewers still rave, it has a superb story, it's got a colorful cast of unique characters, you can do kung fu, there's even drunken boxing, 11 million out of 10! I must admit that I've held interest in making a sequel to Jade Empire, but that's because I want to fix several issues with the design philosophy itself. It has a lot of interesting concepts, but the execution is all wrong, especially with the combat. A now obvious way to fix the combat is to make it much more like Fable 2's system. Mapping styles to 3 separate attack buttons and transitioning from one style of attack to another would make thoroughly engaging the mix and match aspect of mapping multiple styles. By now, though, if I ever acquire enough resources to make that sequel, I've figured out how to change everything else to just make a whole new IP. Overall, I give Jade Empire a painfully wasted potential out of 10.